right into to our guest and let him move on with his life. But we got to get some of his thoughts as well. We are now joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Gimenez. Jimmy, what up, man? How you doing?
What's up, dude? How are you, man? Let's get you to as many subscribers as you need. Let's go.
Thanks. I always say it as a joke. It's not really a joke. You'll know that. But I'm always saying I need to get 100,000 subscribers so that I can get my play button and then feel good about myself again because I'm not a player anymore. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. Trust me. Anything we can do to make ourselves feel good when we're not playing anymore, that's the key.
That's what life's all about. Thanks for taking the time, man, coming on the show. You are our second guest ever. So
wow,
you can hang your hat on that one a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
I want to get your take on a few things, especially in starting with the Cleveland Guardians, because that is a team that you do a little bit of work for and follow a little bit closely. We all have our team, right, that we watch a little bit more.
That's right.
Biggest takeaway so far from the season, we knew it was going to be a close division, and so far so good. It's a pretty close division. How you feeling about the Guardians' play so far, and how we look in maybe in repeating as division champs?
I mean, I'll start off with this. I was a little, not worried. I guess worried may be a little bit of a strong word after their initial 10-game road trip to start the season. Major League Baseball, as you probably know, started them off on a 10-game road trip because they are doing stadium improvements, and that's kind of the give and take that they ask for as much time as humanly possible to get everything ready before opening day. So they started the year on a 10-game road trip, had to go to San Diego, started off in Kansas City, by the way, which their team looks pretty good. Had to go to San Diego, then Anaheim or Los Angeles for the Angels, however you want to call that. But I was a little worried, dude. After getting swept.
I was just
gonna
let it ride.
I haven't slept a lot, to be completely honest with you. I've been up a long time today. I just got back in from Cleveland. But yeah, after being swept in San Diego and then losing 2-3 in Anaheim, first homestand, started off last Tuesday. They came in and they swept the White Sox and dang near swept the Royals again. Have now taken 4 of 6 from Kansas City to start the season after they went 5-8 against them last year. So I think a little bit of home cooking is exactly what they needed, because this team, this last homestand, really looked like the team that I think we should expect them to be. I mean, they were very, very good from a starting rotation. Their bullpen has been fantastic. Emmanuel Clase is human, and that happens from time to time, but the offense has gotten going, and it kind of seemed like everything was starting to click. So I'm a little more optimistic, I guess you could say, about the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, we had some teams that were expected to do pretty well who started off slow. And, running into the Padres in the way they've started, not ideal. So
not ideal.
Not anyone. Yeah. No one's had much fun against them so far. So you can not feel so bad about that. You just mentioned Emmanuel Clase, and it's the bullpen has been a strength of this team. It was the biggest reason, in my opinion, that they were able to do what they did last year, get through the playoffs.
For sure.
And he gave up 5 total runs last year, but he's already given up 6 this year. What's the level of concern for Emmanuel? And what do you think? What do you think has been the issue this far?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, because after you give up 5 runs in an entire season, you kind of, and to his credit, to be honest with you, he has set the standard so ungodly high that we look at the start to his season this year as like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Like, if you look back, yes, he's given up some runs. There's no denying that. But what I've seen is the league make a little bit of an adjustment on him. He's a strike thrower. Even though he throws 100-mile-an-hour cutters with a decent slider, he pounds the strike zone. And I think you've seen teams really start to be very aggressive against him and attack early. Like, he's been in the strike zone, in the heart of the strike zone in particular, really early in counts. And I think that's hurt him. He came in a non-save situation the other night, Saturday night, actually, against Kansas City, ended up giving up just 1 run, but gave up 4 consecutive hits. Like, some guys hit the ball pretty hard, but everything was literally right in the heart of the plate. and he didn't do a great job of mixing in his slider early on in counts. And I think he came out after the game and said, "This is kind of the end all be all for me. Like, I need to start doing this. This has been something that they've been talking about, and I just haven't necessarily felt like I needed to do it yet." So I'm not concerned at all because honestly, he set the standard so unbelievably high that like when you give up 7 runs, I mean every reliever in baseball should at least give up 7 runs a year. The fact that he only gave up 5 runs last year is so absolutely absurd that now the fact that he's given up 7 in the first 2.5, 3 weeks of the season, like I get it, I totally understand it, but I'm not concerned at all. I think there will be some adjustments made. If he was throwing like 94
Yeah.
and not 99, I would maybe be a little bit more concerned. But the stuff is coming out of his hand as good as it ever has, arguably harder, which could maybe have a little bit to do with this too. But he really has just been kind of in the heart of the plate, challenging the strike zone. And I think we'll see a little bit of an adjustment from here on out.
Yeah, it seems like it's just an execution issue, not a stuff issue that is definitely fixable. And usually when guys go through rough patches, I mean, when relievers you give up a little handful of runs and you got to like get that ERA down. It usually takes a lot longer.
Then you got to battle for the rest of the year.
Yeah. But he's a pro. I mean, I'm sure he's not super worried about it. And if you're still throwing 100, then there's still stuff in the tank. Right. It's just interesting. I'm interested to see if there's like, it's a pitching factory over there. If some sinker appears or a splinker or something, he just like tries to throw. Everyone's throwing splinkers. Everybody.
He has been working on a sinker.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if he has thrown any in the game yet. I'd have to double check that, but he did talk about it in his post game press conference on Saturday night that he said he feels comfortable enough to be able to throw that pitch in a game. I kind of took that as I haven't thrown one yet, but you're going to start seeing some of these. And honestly, it's kind of nice because you're right. Cleveland has really been a pitching factory, and in particular, the last couple of years with the bullpen. Jacob Junis and Paul Sewald have been fantastic to start the year as well. So it's really helped pick up the slack. And you've seen, to have 4 guys in your bullpen that had below a 2 ERA last year in 70 innings is absolute insanity. And I think you add 2 more guys that are very, very capable guys. One of them's been a closer for a long time. The other one's got nasty stuff. That really lengthen out that bullpen. I think we will continue to see that be a strength for them, no matter what Clase does.
Yeah, I agree with that. They got guys who threw lots of bullets last year, but they were all rookies, so they at least got a couple more years.
Yeah, they're good.
They'll be fine. Okay, just a couple more for you before I let you go. I want to. I was supposed to actually do a little opening monologue, talking a little bit about that Mike Trout non-interference call.
Right.
Though I do like how that whole situation ended.
For sure.
It bodes the question because in the World Series there was like 3 times where it was close, like where there could have very clearly been a fan interfering with a big play, and it's coming up more. I feel like it's coming up more and more. So I want to get your take. What was your immediate reaction to seeing that? Did you have flashbacks to the Mookie Betts thing, or was this just one of those things like any fan would go for the ball? Like that's kind of the point of most people going to games. What was your take?
You know what? Honestly, like it was a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I felt it was a little aggressive at the onset, not understanding that the gentleman had his little son sitting right there and apparently was trying to protect his son. I felt like that was maybe a slight aggressive to be in protect mode. I get the Papa Bear thing here, but he legit reached into Trout's glove and took the ball out. And it definitely gave me vibes of, Mookie Betts in the World Series last year in New York. And we saw what happened to the 2 fans that were sitting there. And I mean, obviously that was fairly egregious and really, truly should never really happen. I mean, I'm all for trying to interfere with the dude as, if you hit his glove or you're trying to get in the way of him, I get that. But to legit open his glove up and rip the ball out, I think that's maybe going slightly too far. But I think the key to this whole thing is Mike Trout, truthfully, and how he ultimately handled this situation. Like, you talk about as pro gets, inviting the dad and the son after he realized they had to be relocated, which we get that part, but inviting them underneath, signing stuff, talking to him, like you talk about just being an absolute pro. Like that is one of the coolest, nicest things to do. Didn't have to do that. And truthfully, honestly, I thought they got the call wrong on the field because I'm pretty sure Mike Trout caught that ball and they took the ball out of his glove, but they again said he didn't, and I get it. The batter popped out the next pitch, so it wasn't a big deal. No harm, no foul. But kudos to Mike Trout, man. That's why you need to be the face of this league, because not many people would do something like that, and it just shows the kindness in his heart.
Yeah, I was. We have enough, getting frustrated or angry or raging about everything all the time. It's nice to feel, hey, misunderstanding, and I understand where you're coming from, fan. Like, it's exciting when a ball comes close, especially when I'm close to you too. Like, it goes from 0 to 100 real quick, and not everyone can just handle that. Okay, last one for me, and I want your opinion, because I'm gonna have my own take here in a moment, but I want to build on yours and see what you have. Is there anything, because I understand why fans are straight up against the wall. Like, it's part of the experience, right? Where else what other sport can you get equipment from the game,
right,
like, to come to you? Like, there's very few. If you're going to a hockey game hoping for a puck, you might see one every couple games,
right?
So it doesn't happen often. So, but at the same time, like, we have what if that call is a catch and then the next guy hits a home run, like, and it's in the playoffs? Like, we're all worried about robombs. We're so worried about robombs. This one's seems pretty simple. So I have an idea for maybe something they could keep, maybe lower the incentive of, like, leaning over. But I want your take. What do you think is, like, one small thing we could do to maybe avoid all this happening without taking away too much from the fan experience?
I know that's the hard part, because this is kind of a sticky situation. You go back to that Mookie Betts play in New York last year in the World Series. Those two guys were immediate fan favorites with everybody in that crowd until they got kicked out of the game and supposedly are, like, suspended for life. Like, that's where it's like, okay, I mean, do we throw a suspension out there saying you can't come back to a game for a year, for a month, for life? Like, we definitely don't want to take that experience away from the fans. But I think at the same time, when you have a guy literally opening up and ripping open Mookie's glove and holding his hand there with his glove and taking the ball out, to me, that's to the point where I'm like, okay, there should be some punishment, but I don't want that to take away from the fan experience of the fact that, like we were just talking about, if you got a fan that's trying to interfere with a player, as long as he's not reaching in the field to play, it's fair game, in my opinion, right? Like, bring your gloves, like, try to rob that thing from somebody like Mike Trout right there, because you're only doing your team a solid, unless, it's the opposing team hitting, and then you might get yelled at, and we got a Cubs situation from the 90s, and that's not good, right?
No one wants that.
Nobody wants that.
No.
But yeah, I think it's a tough situation, because again, you want the fan to be as close as possible and to have that experience, but there also needs to be, maybe a hard line set of rules that says, listen, if you go after a player or hold his glove or rip it open and try to rip the ball out,
contact on purpose.
There you go. Yeah. If you're initiating contact on purpose, there's going to be some sort of consequence.
Yeah, and I think that kind of varies park to park. Some places handle it more like, even Yankee Stadium's one of the more aggressive ones for fans. Sure. If you do one thing out of line there, especially in the bleachers, those guys get you out there immediately. It's interesting. I've thought about maybe there's a standardized, like, short gap to where you have to, like, really lean in order to get in their way, but you can still like involve. It's just hard to do that, right?
Now you're talking about redesigning, like,
exactly.
You may have to take away seats, and I mean that's obviously,
and they'll never do that because they want to jam as many people in these stadiums as possible.
Exactly. The owners wouldn't like that.
Well, it is. I'm sure it'll be an ongoing conversation. This probably is not the last time we saw this. Chris Gimenez, thank you so much for joining us, man. Especially getting right off a plane, and go get some sleep.
Anything for you, dude. Anything for you.
I appreciate it.
Anytime you need me, bud.
Until next time, man. I will. Thank you so much. That is Chris Gimenez, everybody. Jimmy is a legend, always is. All right, guys. Now, this is backwards. We're going a little bit flippy floppy, but I do want to talk a little bit more about this Mike Trout situation with the ball being more or less pulled out of his glove. Now, if you watch it, I don't know if you guys have seen it, like, in slow motion, but it does seem like the ball was taken out of his glove. Though it does seem like the guy's hand kind of goes into the glove with the ball. So it's like, it's hard to, he didn't, like, do it after the fact. So in his defense, and this is in the stands, this is not like they're reaching out. This is a weird thing, though. Like, this stuff is happening at a ridiculous rate. This has come up for me a few times, and I wanted to talk about this before, and I was just waiting for another situation to happen. So now we have it. You guys have may remember, or actually, this also happened a couple days ago in Tampa, where we had a notorious ball hawk, Zach Hampel. YouTube, if anyone doesn't know who Zach Hampel is, you are not a true baseball connoisseur. This man has thousands of balls, and he caught this ball over Morel, who, more or less people thought he could have robbed it, but you can't rob it when someone grabs it before you. Now, I don't think he would have caught it, but this happened. People were mad at him. People like to get mad at him a lot for this stuff anyway, so I think this is just a perfect storm. But again, what if it is 6 inches closer, and what if you just catch it over him? Even if you don't interfere with him, you just take it from him. Don't you guys want to see the robbed home run? Don't we want to see the play happen, not take it away from him? So this happened again just a couple days ago. And then we had the one in New York in the World Series. This is Mookie Betts. Now, this is a little different. This gentleman, too, reaches over and grabs his wrist to hold him there, and this guy's trying to pull the ball out of his glove. This was egregious. This was done on purpose, but it's almost the exact same play. And this is in the World Series. Like, who knows? They don't call anything, and then a homer's hit, and then the game's changed. Like, now we're having games completely changed by people making bad decisions. In that same series, this is 4 examples. This was a home run hit by Gleyber Torres in Dodger Stadium. This was a fan. They were looking at whether or not he reached over and it would have been a double. Now, this one wasn't going to be robbed, but it might have been a double or a home run. It probably would have been a home run. It turned out to be a non-issue. And honestly, this guy was like trying to make a decision if he wanted to go for the ball. So I will give him credit too. But because you're that close to the wall, these guys aren't pro athletes. They can't tell, right? They don't know. So it takes one little mistake to take away a big play from a pitcher or a hitter. And when this happened, I got a text message from my English brother-in-law. So Richard is from Sheffield, England, and he goes, how does this keep happening? How does fan interference keep happening? Why do they let him be so close? I'm like, that's a very good point. He goes, it's ridiculous. It could have a huge impact on the game. This is a European guy who doesn't watch that much baseball and trying to learn and wants to understand why fans are so close to the field. And I can't help but agree. I'm like, I don't really know why. So there are a couple reasons why this happens and why we maintain the way this is put together. All right. First of all, it's the fan experience. All right. It's so prevalent just because fans are against the wall. Like, then they have been for a long time. This is an older picture. Like, look at all these people are all leaning. They're all leaning over the wall. Like, legitimately leaning over the wall. This is a little bit of a madhouse, and we see he's got to jump up there to try to grab it out of the stands for a home run. So the big problem is it's just fans are too close to the park. If we wanted to not have them do this, we would need to move them away. Like Chris just mentioned in our interview earlier. What are we going to do? We're gonna move all of the fences in the whole field in, or we're gonna take one row of seats out around the whole park. Like, what are we gonna do? How can we standardize this stuff? And they don't want to do that for a bunch of reasons. One, I just mentioned, there's a bunch of resources involved with that. But then there's 2. It's part of the fan experience. There is no other sport where you can count on a piece of equipment that's being used in the game to come into the stands at any given point. Right? Like, that's why we see grown men, grown adults wearing their gloves that they haven't used since they were 15 up in the stands, which I love. I'm not throwing any shade here. You don't get to wear your glove often. So go crazy with it. But like, that's a huge part of why people go to games. So you don't want to reduce their ability to do that more than we already have, because we've already expanded the nets. So a couple years ago, we've had a lot of injuries with line drives going in the stands. Totally understandable. But a lot of parks have extended their nets so far down the lines that less and less people are going to have the opportunity to get a foul ball. Now, is the trade-off between getting a 98-mile-an-hour line drive at you and getting a ball? You probably take the not getting a ball at all option there. But with the nets already being expanded for fan safety, they're not going to reduce the number of foul balls or even home runs that fans can get even further than they already did with this change. So because of that, It'll never happen. Also, the fans are way up there because they want to get as many fans into a stadium as possible. If you could sell 1,000 more seats, you're going to sell 1,000 more seats. So I had an option. I had an idea. I just mentioned it with Chris. I'm going to mention it again here. What if, I'm going to leave that up. What if we created that gap? What if they created a standardized gap where the fans can't be 12, there's a 12-inch gap all the way around, meaning there's a 12-inch buffer that a fan's body can't be in front of. You can reach over it, but you can't be closer than that. That 12-inch might give a little bit more of a buffer for the player to make a play and also a fan to make a decision whether or not they want to try to catch it or not. Now, would it reduce it a little bit? Yeah. But would it kind of probably alleviate the vast majority of the situations? Probably. Will it happen? No, because it's going to take resources. And I just genuinely don't believe that is something that they're going to do. So I don't think we'll ever see a change, or at least until it gets really big. I think it would take some sort of massive play in the World Series or something to make us change our mind here and make the league address this. But there was a silver lining at the end. Mike Trout did meet that fan who was apologetic right away. If you watch it in slow motion, you can see him realize that, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble. But this is great reporting from Rhett Bollinger. Shout out to Rhett, ex-Twins beat writer. Love that guy. And he posted this picture of Mike Trout meeting them after the game. There is audio. He says, hey, man, the way you guys reacted to that was awesome. That's exactly the way we want. Because they were like, hey, I'm so sorry. He tried to give him the ball back. It's actually kind of endearing. And he was just like, that was the right way to do it. Stuff happens. We just, like, the play didn't get made, and it is whatever. And there's enough negativity in the world these days that just brought a little fuzziness into this big guy's soul. So just wanted to share that. That is the way he is. This guy's a consummate professional, and I am very proud to be a part of a group of players that played at the same time with Mike Trout. For sure. So what do you think? I want to know. Let me know in the comments and wherever you can comment if you're listening to this in the podcast form or wherever. I want to know what you think.